Welcome to Eat Well, Travel Better, the Business of Food Travel podcast with Eric Wolf and Ashi Vale, where we help you become a better industry professional by gaining inspiration from some of the world's most successful people in the food and beverage tourism industry. With each episode, we meet these leaders and examine their secrets of success. We reveal the obstacles and challenges they have faced, along with their solutions and triumphs, and give you ideas and inspirations for many of the same business issues that you may be facing as well. And now for today's episode. I'm Eric Wolf, and I'll be your host today for episode 11 of Eat Well, Travel Better, the Business of Food Travel podcast. Normally, I would be joined by my co-host, Ashi Vale, but she's on maternity leave for a few months. Today, we'll be speaking with Evarist March. Evarist is a lover of nature. He specializes in the knowledge of plants, fungi, and algae, and their usefulness for humans. He focuses on their use in both traditional and contemporary gastronomy. He does this through his company, Natural Walks, a tour company working mainly in Catalonia. His customers interpret the natural environment and connect with culinary culture, its origins, and relations to a place and its people. He loves to be surrounded by crazy cooks, other naturalists, and lovers of life. Welcome, Evarist.
Hello.
Evarist, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. I have to tell you, you have a very interesting name. What is the history of your name? How did you get to be called Evarist?
Okay. In fact, in Catalan is the name is called is pronounced Evarist. Yeah, so it's quite different from the English, especially American English. So all the customers used to ask me Everest, like a mountain. I have to say no. This is a Latin name. Yeah. And it's a Latin name that it's a little bit shame to say because it's coming from the Greek that's called eu, that means authentic. And the meaning of Evarist is one of the best. This is the literal meaning from the Greek. But this is not so much, humble to say that to my customers.
So your name has nothing to do with the mountain?
Nothing. It's absolutely Mediterranean. I'm sorry.
I bet it makes you very popular.
Yeah, it's so funny for my customer from the States. It's so funny. The first minute when I say my name, they say, "Oh, you are a mountain?" No, not really. I'm like a mountain because I'm full of life, but not really. My name is from Catalonia.
Excellent. Well, Evarist, you run a very interesting company, Natural Walks, and you're doing walks in nature and looking at herbs and weeds and all different kinds of things. Tell us a little bit about what you do and what a typical customer experience is on one of your tours.
When I started to do walks, I saw that I don't want to become a kind of really strictly scientific, because I saw that the people was not interested in my Latin names or really a lot of information. I saw that something that works for my customers is really have an history or really be related to the territory. My job finally is to make my customers part of the territory, to be part of the picture, be part of the landscape. So what it's in reality my job? My job is using the plants, the green, the seaweed, the mushrooms to connect these elements of the nature with the history of the territory. That means the food, the healthy, the spiritual way how the people was using, and connect with the culture. So my clients come to my land next to Barcelona because they are interested, for example, in the culinary world, in wines, so in the liquid gastronomy, so in art. So I'm going to the wine and explain why we have a diet as a Mediterranean diet or Mediterranean culinary, and why it's important. What is the differential elements that we share, of course, with all the Mediterranean budget, but why you are here and not in another place. This is my aim.
And I imagine it's very, well, because you offer a different kind of experience. It's not a walk around the markets in Barcelona. You're getting people out into the countryside. It must be, the way people find you must be very different. How do people discover your tour company and decide to go on a tour?
Well, I'm first one by the website, but it's quite difficult because we are so strange. We are a little bit freakies. But I work especially with different companies, travel companies or travel agencies who are specialized in food or in gastronomy. So they know that we are the strange because we don't go in the markets and we are on the wild. We always are surrounded by green. Ever inside Barcelona, we can go in the hills of the Olympic area, and we can discover a lot of food that talking and did us explain the history of how we are, why the climate, why we have good wines. So we have sometimes very few the connection with the customers directly, but in the majority we work with a profile more like premium, something like this, or with travel agencies that they are focused in gastronomy. This is the best way.
Okay. And how far outside Barcelona are your tours? Is
No,
it a 30
inside the
minute drive?
city.
Oh, it's inside the city.
Yeah, it's in the Olympic area, for example. And it's amazing. This is what we would like to surprise. Nature is not something very far of us. Nature is next to. We can walk inside a city and show you many plants that are we are surrounded that we can use perfectly for make salads, soups, or I don't know, in many ways. So we go in the Olympic area that is called Montjuic, yeah, the Jewis Mountains, translated from the original meaning, and we can take a walk inside with not many tourists around us, just taking small paths in places that are not really touristic and show it perfectly what means Mediterranean diet, what means food, why we are the land of aromas and a sense around the world. So we don't need to go very far.
Okay. I'm looking on your website and it looks like the people are on some lovely countryside somewhere very far from a city.
Yeah. Yeah, in some places, yeah, but in another we are really close. Why not to explain inside Barcelona? And people don't know. I'm working with Dulce de Can Roca as a forager, so some of the plants like white mustard, that is the mustard that the wild mustard original from the Mediterranean, are just next to in the hills that are surrounded in Barcelona. So
Hmm.
we have special habitats for plants that are perfectly used in cooking.
Now, you said you're a forager for some of the area's famous restaurants, and I think
Mm.
foraging is really an important trend now.
Mm.
In Portland, we have people who go around the city and pick weeds off the road and turn
Mm.
them into botanicals for cocktails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really quite funny, but uh, can you explain some of the things that you would be looking for in the walks that you give, or when you're out taking a walk yourself? What kinds of plants do you find, and tell us a story about one of the herbs or the weeds that you discover.
Yeah. The first thing that the people discover is how much we lost the relation between food that we can buy today in a market and the food that we can find outside. People don't believe me when I say that if you find vegetable fruits in the wild, is because yeah, this is the originals. And if you when you go on a market, on a supermarket, and you find these vegetable fruits whatever, and you find on the wild, this is because these plants are original. So
Mm.
what I take that, for example, I just put an example. People is so surprised that carrots are everywhere. The carrots that you can buy in a supermarket with orange or yellow or violet, purple or black don't exist in nature. The nature all exists one species of carrots that all is always white. So these exist everywhere. Like you can find in all Europe, also in some places of South America, because we export some some wheats there. So people are so surprised that, for example, carrots are everywhere and are much more tasty and have much more texture. For example, we are the land in Catalonia we are the land of garlic. So when you go in a bar in the mountain in the countryside, when you open the doors of a bar or restaurant, typical, the smell is garlic. Why? Because when we go to the wild, we have more than 20 species of garlic that are wild. And this is amazing. What is amazing? Because probably you heard in the States and in other parts of the world, alioli. Alioli means all, garlic in Catalan, and oli means olive oil. So this is one of the sauce probably more popular in Catalonia. Yeah. And we have a lot of dishes made with garlic. So people are so surprising to see that the garlic are on the wild, and we use it in many, many different ways. Yeah.
I think you make a very good point that we, as consumers, we are removed from the source of our food, whether it is where the meat comes from or,
Yeah.
like you said, the vegetables.
Yeah.
We are used to going to a grocery store, usually,
Yeah.
a big, we say in the States, a big box, but you would call it
Mm-hmm.
maybe a hypermarket or, a
Mm-hmm.
very large store where you can buy everything that you could ever want, but you don't know the history or the source of these things. And even if it says made in Spain or made in France,
Mm-hmm.
where, what's the story, who picked it?
Yeah, and let me add something. Like people is surprised that the original food or the original legumes are coming from the wild. This is the first one that for me it's wow. But the second thing that for me is more relevant today, that when you go in the wild and you take a garlic or you take a carrot or whatever, the people is so surprised how you come in the origin. So the texture, the taste, not the presence, because the presence is quite different. Because it's much more, it's much more flowering. The texture are more amazing. Because when we cultivate, we put more water. So when we use these plants of these species to transform how the customers or how the cooks they would like to be. So when you go in the wild, it's amazing because everything is much more powerful.
And more flavorful and healthier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's very, I'm thinking about walking around the hills in Catalonia picking wild carrots. That sounds wonderful.
People is so surprised for that.
Now, you bring up another interesting point, and this is something that we were talking about in the before show as well, that people, I think, well, it has to do with visitor expectations. And you were talking about Lake Titicaca in Bolivia and how you expected all of these authentic foods, and
Yeah.
and there's history, there's culture, there's indigenous people, it has all the ingredients for something really authentic. And
Mm-hmm.
you go down there and you're seeing for sale Mexican tacos and Italian pasta, and
Yeah.
what is happening in these mass tourism sites? I mean, why can't we just celebrate our local foods?
I'm really worried about that. It's not, I just put you an example of that I saw in Titicaca because probably it's a very, I don't know, spiritual place for me as a naturalist, as a natural guy for me. It's not just the landscape, it's this history of Incas behind. And I was so surprised to see that people was absolutely disconnected of the local culture. And for me, local culture means also what is the food, how the people cook at this, which kind of techniques, which kind of elements they use from a long time, probably from thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really worried. It's not something that's happening in the most exotic place like that. It's also something that can happen in Barcelona, probably, I don't know, around New York City. It's how people today is so comfortable when travel. And I'm not sure how much they are really interested in the culture, in the local culture. So that means in the ingredients, in the people, how the people were related with the ingredients and how they translate to typical or traditional dishes, for example.
Mm. It's one of the things that we see in destination marketing by tourism offices. They seem to be very proud to promote the number of cuisines they have in their destination. We have 185 different cuisines, and that's not a motivation to travel. We want to travel, well, for food lover, we want to travel because we want to experience the local, the regional, or a national dish. And I'm not going to travel to Spain to look for Chinese food.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have good Chinese restaurants, but people
Yeah,
are flying to Spain for that. They're flying
yeah.
for what's local and the historical part too.
Yeah, and for me, we don't have to forget that we're a globalized world. So probably one of the best places to eat China's food probably is in London. Yeah, because they have a big Chinese community, and probably they also use another ingredients. And we don't have to forget that the culinary world is changing a lot and so fast. But for me, on the other side is how much we have we call a high traditional gastronomy. Yeah. So why not to go in a place and really taste the regional food in the really good quality?
Mm.
Yeah? Not just in the traditional markets that sometimes people is not I don't know, is not adapted to a kind of hygienic conditions or like this. Why not to go in a country to see what ingredients and what kind of techniques they use from the past, but on the 21st century?
I agree. I mean, I think also there is something to be said for having Chinese or Indian food in London, or I had Italian food in Korea once, and really these are more fusion examples. You know, if you
Mm-hmm.
talked to someone from China, they would laugh that you're eating Chinese food in London and say, "Well, that's
Yeah.
anglicized Chinese food." And the same in the
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
And I get that, but it's almost it's an evolution of that cuisine. It's that cuisine
Mm-hmm.
has been changed,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that what you're doing is preserving the traditional, the historic, the original culinary culture, which is
Mm-hmm.
really in danger of being lost.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because I've just make you an example. It's not just changing the culinary world; it's changing the wild. So I today when I take a walk next to the shore in Catalonia, we can see epazote or paico from Mexico. We can see many plants that are from around the world. So the world is changing a lot. It's changing so fast, and we lost this connection to see what was original or not. So we don't have a, I don't know how to say, a point zero to know what is coming from everything. And for me, the point zero is always the nature.
Mm. Yeah, staying true to who we are as human beings and reconnecting to nature. It's the feeling that you get when you leave the city and you walk in the forest and you hear the stream or the river and you breathe mountain air or sea air. It's that feeling that re-energizes us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we know today that scientifically this is demonstrated. Yeah. So nature is healthy, not just because the water in a river, in a stream is healthy, and not just because the air is healthy. Because nature today, we know that we go in a mature forest, the molecules that provide the old forest is the molecules that we need as a body to be this stress.
Mm.
And today this is scientifically proven. It's not just an illusion. It's not something um, uh, just esoteric in a way. Yeah. So this is something that the people miss when are not in touch on the nature. And just let me see something that people sometimes don't pay attention. How many decades we are living like today? So my grandfather, my grandmother go to the forest to take some wood for cooking every day. So my grandfathers go to the wild to pick some mushrooms for eating in during the fall. So this is not so far. It was just to a generation before me, and we in probably in 4 years we changed absolutely that. Yeah. And this is for me something relevant because we lost the experience of time and how much different is the world today from 50 years ago, from
Mhm.
80 years ago. That is nothing on the history of human beings.
Speaking of time, how long have you been running your company, Natural Walks?
It's so young. It's 7 years. As I
Okay.
said. Yeah.
And you're not that old, so you must have had an epiphany or a great idea at an earlier age that there was a need for this.
Yeah, people, when I start in the middle of economic crisis, all my friends tell me that I'm really crazy. Because why you want to open a travel agency to show plants and flowers? You are crazy.
Now, so you had this epiphany at an early age. If you could go back and give yourself a younger version of you some advice, what would you tell yourself?
So for me, be more brave in just jump in your ideas, in your in your dreams. I see that the young people sometimes really don't believe that some dreams can be successful. Yeah, just And the other side that I see in a world that is full of information and communication, and we have a lot of information around us, is to believe much more in us, and in the other side to be much more humble, especially for cooks. Yeah, they have a lot of technology today. They have a lot of information. They have not to pay for many information, and this is not coming from them. This is coming from a lot of people who give this information for free for many new generations. So for me, the sensation that we have not the conscience of the time, and sometimes the young people looks like the world is just beginning 50 years ago, or much more or less. It's something that I miss from the new professionals.
Mm. Evarist, your company won the runner-up for the Best Food and Beverage Tour Operations for Land in this year's Food Trucking Awards. So that must have been perhaps a little bit of surprise and an excitement for your company. What did it mean for Natural Walks when you won that award?
Well, it's so nice, because thinking that some people who is in the opposite side of the world is looking or work and say, wow, this is interesting, for us was really pleasant, was really amazing new for us. So very, very, very congratulated for that.
Well, I think it's well deserved. I mean, you're doing something new and different, and really keeping true to the whole idea of preserving the culinary culture, which is also one of our goals. Definitely in alignment there. So it was well deserved.
Thank you very much.
So when you're not giving tours, I think you said before you don't have much time to read. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I need to read a lot. I have many people who suggest me, you have to travel to this place, or you have to read this book. And I have a lot of jobs, so it's a pity, because I have not more. I only have 24 hours a day.
Yeah. I do listen to people that recommend things like that. And I also listen to people who recommend restaurants. But what I discovered with restaurants is pretty much 100% of the time someone recommends a place, I'm not impressed. And, we could talk about the reasons why and the whole psycho-culinary profiling thing. But I think the message here is that it's important to follow your own path, and maybe you take inspiration from others, but sometimes I think people will spend too much time trying to follow what other people are saying. Go to that restaurant, or read this book, or listen to this podcast. And really, I think we just need to be true to ourselves and follow our own path and create our own path, and maybe inspire those other people as well.
Yeah, it's the same that when you ask me my suggestions for I don't know if they say the young or the people who start, it's really to jump it and be much more trusting in yourself. When people tell me, okay, now you are trendy because you are using wild plants, I say, I'm not trendy. I'm doing what I really would like to do.
Yeah.
It's okay. I find was just for Azar, because I never went before to the Soledad de Can Roca, and they never heard about me. Just was absolutely for Azar. But we agree that everyone knows from his side, and this is amazing. So and probably if I'm looking the future, I don't change my job. And this is something that I miss also, because we have a lot of information, a lot of marketing, a lot of trendies. So I really miss that the people really follow what they would like to do. And information is absolutely amazing today to know what the other people is doing. But when you see this, some of the top chefs, they really follow what they want to do.
Mm.
They try to be original, not because they follow the trend to be original all the time. They really would like to follow his own proposals.
That's a very important lesson, especially I think for our younger listeners. Many times we are trained that we should follow our parents' wishes or the suggestions of our university professors, for example. And we don't know which way to go when we're younger. And there's many different roads that we can take. And really you have to just follow what you love or follow what you're good at. And I think that will take you in the right direction.
Yeah. And let me just add something, Eric. Never in the history, there is much more possibilities for cooking. So today I can go, I'm working some master degrees with people from overseas, from Korea to the States and from Alaska to South Chile. So I used to say, I teach about the plants that are, the weeds that are surrounded some schools, but they can choose how they want to work. So you can, today it's perfectly that you can make raw food, for example, or some smoothies with the same plants, or high gastronomy on a sous vide techniques, and that works. And this is amazing and never happens before. You can use the same wild plants that is exactly the same that we have from 1,000 years, and using absolutely different ways for cooking. And this is new, and this is amazing, and this is a really, really amazing opportunity for the new cooks that it's starting now.
Do you ever touch the subject of food as medicine?
Absolutely. Everything is medicine in Mediterranean when we talk about plants. Not when we talk about mushrooms. Asia have a lot of experience of that, but in Europe, especially in Mediterranean areas where every lot of plants are aromatic, aromatic means healthy.
There's a natural college of medicine here in Portland, and they teach food as medicine and how herbs or flowers or botanicals or tinctures or
Mhm.
natural things like
Mhm.
kombucha can
Mhm.
have beneficial effects on your body, and use those as the medicines rather than taking pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, absolutely. And today we start to have little studies, scientific studies about the composition of the plants. And for example, we know that some nettles, for example, some other plants, wild plants, have much more calcium that milk, for example, 3.5 more times that the supplements that we buy in a supermarket. So this is the origin. So this is much more powerful. It's much more useful in the culinary world. It's also is much more healthy.
Hmm. Now, do you cook with these ingredients at home as well yourself?
Yeah, but I'm not only eating that, as all the people are thinking about me.
No, I mean, if you aren't at home reading, for example, you must be spending a lot of your time cooking.
Not so much. I
No?
really, it's so strange, but when more I work with cooks, less I cook at home. And it's so funny because I used to cook a lot when I was teenager or I was working or I was in the university, and every time I'm more lazy to cook, probably because I have very good reference around me, so I'm feel a little bit bad cooking very simple dishes. Probably for that.
So you let your friends cook for you, and you just do the eating.
It's this is something it's interesting because food is social, and we know today from the psychology world very well that. So I love cook for others, but I don't like so much to cook just for me.
Interesting. Well, you must have a favorite dish then. What do you like to eat? If you just could, make something at home yourself, what would be the first thing you would make?
Especially when I'm coming back from my sometimes long travels. I used to prepare pan tumacat. Pan tumacat is a Catalan name. Pa is bread, and tumacat is tomato. So we cut a tomato with a long slice or bread so big. So we smash the tomato on, and then just a little bit of salt, marine salt, of course, and olive oil, of course, and some cheese, curried cheese, or some jam. That's the perfect to be at home again.
Nice. And do you put any herbs on top of that? Like maybe, I don't know.
No, this is something that it's so curious too, because who use much more herbs is more in the other countries, more in the north than us. We use herbs in some specific food, but not in general everywhere. Probably because all the food here is tasty, all the ingredients, are Mediterranean, so that means less water, so have much more texture and much more taste.
I don't know what you described. I think some fresh oregano would be lovely on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I invite you to come with me one day, and I share you in the food experience all the theory that I'm talking about now.
Okay. But how many customers a year do you take on nature walks?
Oof, I don't know. It's some hundreds. I don't know. I never count this because I have some different kind of groups. Sometimes are really particular, especially families. Sometimes we have customers, international customers that they are also specialized. That means around 15 people. And sometimes I take schools or master degree students who come with us to learn about food or about tourism or about gastronomy for professionals. So I don't know. I never hunted.
Do you find that after your customers return home and
Yeah.
they are showing the photos and videos to their friends,
Mm-hmm.
do you get future business bookings from the people that they show their trip to?
Not so much. Not so much. I sometimes they post some pictures and they click us, but not so much. This is something that probably we have to work more in marketing.
Interesting. We talked about your website, and I have seen you've got some videos on there, and you have a Twitter feed. But I'm
Yeah.
just trying to think about because you have a very specialist type of food tour. It's not when people say food tour, they think we're going to go around and sample things in markets and at restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of tour that you offer is very different. So I'm thinking it requires maybe a little different kind of marketing. How
Mm-hmm.
maybe more word of mouth, how people find out about you.
Yeah, one of the problems is that, as I told you at the beginning, we are a little bit freaky. So nobody knows in which kind of tourist club we have to be. And finally, after some years that I explain to the customers, or I have to explain to the travel agencies or I don't know, the people who represent the tourists in a country, finally, I felt absolutely comfortable in premium. It's not just because it's luxury; it's because they are just open mind that they put more on the top the quality than exactly what you are doing. Because for some people, I'm doing nature walks. For other people, I'm just doing gastronomy, but I'm not going in a restaurant. We can go, of course. Sometimes we take a kayak and I'm going to the sea and I picked some seaweed. So this is like a venture or active tourist, but we are talking about culture. So what I'm doing is exactly a mixture of everything that everything is connected. But the point is we are doing this especially in the wild or surrounded by green. So it's not this is something that I used to recommend the young people take care to be really new because the system many times don't understand you. So I use the name gastronomic walks. People used to think that I'm going to the Barcelona in a market or I'm going to for tapas or wineries. And this is something that is quite difficult to make the people understand exactly what you are doing.
Sure. But I imagine once they discover how it's different, they're absolutely delighted.
Yeah. People used to repeat. So that's means something.
That's good. Yeah. Tell us about so not everything in business is smooth sailing. Sometimes there's problems or sometimes things cause you a worry. What would be one of the things that was your biggest worry in business and were you able to solve that?
Um, Probably to find for me something that is the most worried. I don't know if say it is in business, but really I find the people more stressed when travel. People have less time and nature and to understand a culture need time. And in the on the other hand, something that I miss many times is the curiosity. People need curiosity to travel and to be open mind to learn in a way. So
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I miss every time. I have really nice customers sometimes, but they don't have 1 hour more for a walk. Ever if it's free, to discover new places. And this is a problem for sometimes, especially with people who is overseas and coming from very far away.
I'm sure, you've been doing this for, I think you said 7 years. There must be some things that annoy you that you find difficult in business. What would that be?
For me, it's the way that how fast is everything. Yeah, so in a way that you say before, everything has to become trendy and new to have a value. And this is make a kind of press that is not healthy in any way, because we have to invent new products that sometimes is more because we really need to offer something different that they really are absolutely I don't know how to say, agree or have the time to have new proposals. This kind of speed that everything happens today, I think it's something that also in business is not healthy for anybody.
So I would call that the need for continuous process of innovation. So like it's exactly what you said, the need to continually develop new things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's how consumers are. I mean, look at products like the iPhone. They couldn't keep selling the iPhone 5 or the iPhone 6. You have to keep introducing a new one each year, right?
Yeah, but you look to understand how much opportunities or how much skills you have in a high tech computer that you have in your pocket, like an iPhone or another, a cell phone. You need time. So how many skills used for your cell phone, and how many things you can do it. And this is exactly the same what it's happened with the gastronomy. To understand gastronomy, you need time. You need a lot of hours. It's not just tasting something very fast and go in another place. You need to understand how is the culture, the local culture, how is the climate, why they have these ingredients, why during centuries people was using these ingredients in a way and not in the other way. So this is something that I think I miss.
I'm with you there. I mean, you're obviously very passionate about your own area in Catalonia, but let's talk about when you take a holiday. What is some of your favorite places on the planet, and where would you like to go back to yourself?
Well, my holidays is also my work. I'm sorry to say like that. when I have holidays, I take my backpack and I travel to know how another places are and how climates. I work a lot in South America, so when I have free time between courses or activities, and just travel for myself. I really love be a backpacker to see another way to see the world. And I really love it to go in Asia and also in Brazil, but I need a lot of time because the Asian culture using wild or using the plants is so deep. It's rooted in 1,000 years ago. So I know that I need a lot of time. It's the same in Brazil. Go to Brazil is another continent. So go in Amazonia. I know Amazonia from other countries, but go in the real deep Amazonia from Brazil is necessary weeks or months, and this is a limited problem for me for time, basically.
As you travel around the world, have you thought about any kind of legacy that you'd like to leave behind?
I think we have an obligation to really transmit this idea that the legacy in terms of information that we have today is absolutely a luxury, and to put in the hands of information to the new generation and say that means a lot of people who was before us that put you for free this all information and technology for you. So I saw now my responsibility as a teacher today, and I understand much more my responsibility to give my best for the new generations, as I have from my grandfathers and my parents, to explain many things that today are absolutely linked with my job. to explain how is nature, to know from my house how the carrots or the potatoes growing. And for me today is absolutely a privilege because I was growing like this to see fresh ingredients from my home.
So really sharing the enthusiasm and passion for life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, in a world that is full of information and we absolutely become more and more virtual, to just share this passion to see we are alive because everything around us is alive, especially nature. This is the best gift that you can give to your customer, of course.
So is there a quote from someone famous that you really like?
I like one. It's so crazy, but I love it. This man is imagination is more important than knowledge. And if you put in the context of gastronomy, I think that it's absolutely related too. So,
And who's that quote from?
Albert Einstein. So, excuse me.
Okay. and why do you love that quote?
Well, if you see, we are living in the century of information. So just we go in your computer and you have a lot. Even if I'm guide, I couldn't give a lot of information to my customers because all of them have a smart computer in his pocket. Yeah. But I can give some alive information. Yeah. And when you have information, it's like you have ingredients and you have information that you have technology, for example, but you have also imagination, and probably we knows a lot about in Mediterranean areas. That's crazy. That's become contemporary. That's become Croatian. And if you look to the contemporary food, the contemporary cuisine is like is we have in one hand imagination, so creativity, and in the other a lot of knowledge, a lot of history, a lot of culture. So when we work with two hands, that becomes all kind of possibilities, and this is amazing.
You know, that's something I notice in business as well, that, whether an activity is being automated by a robot or in a factory, or whether work is being done in other countries where labor is cheaper, it is the creativity and the imagination that we bring to a process. That's where we can continue to add value.
Yeah, absolutely. And the question is, why not? Because if you see the revolutionary world of the culinary in the last 25 years, someone say, why not, I don't know, having a smoke in a dish, or a soup in a stick? And this is the new culinary world.
So that was Albert Einstein's quote. Are
Yeah.
you known yourself for any particular quote, something that you say?
I used to say, as a natural works, see you in the wild. Yeah, it's a way that our job is on the green, on the wild. So I really love to see the people surrounded by green.
Nos vemos en el campo.
Nos vemos en el campo. Thank you.
Evarist, thank you for sharing your time on the show today. It was fascinating listening to you, getting to know a little bit about who you are and how you work, and some of the things that you consider when you run your business. And thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge with our listeners.
Thank you, Eric, for the opportunity, and a privilege to be interviewed by you. And just let me see, that could be really nice to show you all of this on the wild and surrounded by green.
Nos vemos en el campo. We'll see you in the field.
Yeah, thank you. See you.
Thank you, Evarist.
That's all for this episode of Eat Well, Travel Better, the business of food travel, produced by the World Food Travel Association. Join us next time where we learn from some of the world's most successful people in the food and beverage tourism industry. We'll meet these leaders and examine their secrets of success. We reveal the obstacles and challenges they have faced, along with their solutions and triumphs, and give you ideas and inspirations for many of the same business issues that you may be facing as well. Thank you for joining us today, and until next time, eat well and travel better.